not what I wanted. There we go. Okay. Bye-bye. Let's share this real quick to Discord. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a good Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. Welcome in, everyone. Let's see. We're going to do this and add to story. Now we do this. Welcome in, everyone. Earbuds going. Welcome in, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. We have Tim Cywinski joining us from Virginia. He is running for their Congressional District 1 today. And then we're going to throw this to you. And let's see, you, and you, and you, and you, you, boom, boom, do, do, do. We have, here we go. We have Tim Cywinski from Virginia joining. Oop. There we go. Hi, Sil. Welcome in. Hi, everyone. Okay, got that shared. And then we are going to invite Tim up. There we go. But your dog has a fever. Try mustard is the best thing for a hot dog. I prefer sweet pickles myself, though. Hi, Tim. How are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Doing good. We do have volume. So we have audio. Do we have visual?
That's why I don't know why I can't get my. Oops. Hold on. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Nope.
So let's see. Did you try just like clicking on yourself and seeing what pops up?
Yes. For some reason, it's not. Let me try this again.
Yeah.
Nope.
So if you need to, sometimes exiting out, closing TikTok, and then coming back in, and then everybody has the ability to do it.
Okay. Let me try that one more time. Thank you. Thank you for the
Sounds
advice.
good. Not a problem. Not a problem. Hi, Michael. Welcome in and happy Taco Tuesday to you too. When God took the dinosaurs from us, do you think it was called a velociraptor? Ha! You have Dan staring at the ceiling going, oh my God. Like that was a bad one, but so good, so good. Okay, I think this thing has like some sort of effect or enhance on it. Yep, it does. There we go. Now I don't look so orange. Hi, Deb. How are you, my friend? Hi, Comedy. Welcome in.
There we go. Hello.
Now we have visual.
Great. And you can hear me okay too?
For 30 seconds. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Sorry, I was asking Dan to nuke my tea for me real quick. Okay, we have that. We have that. There you are. Okie dokie. Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, first of all, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for taking the time and coming on and having a conversation with me. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's what politicians should be doing. We forgot how to earn it, I think. And this is the reason I think, are seeing a lot more people like me run for office, is that we're so tired of having a lower standard of these people in power.
And here's the thing is, the way I put it is, I actually think people are running because they're tired of politicians.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell people is we'll differentiate real quick between politicians and representatives. You are a representative. You are running to represent the constituents first in your district, then your state, then the country as a whole. That is your platform. That's your ideals. That is what you want. Politicians are the ones that are there to line their pockets and the pockets of the corporations that have paid for them. That is the difference.
I don't disagree. I actually, one of the lines I usually say is, Virginia is my district, but America is my home. So,
yep.
And
that's what it comes down to is, as being in the first district, we know, that's your priority. But outside of that, you're going on a federal level. So you really have to think about the state and the country as a whole. And that's what we need is we need people who are willing to go to that next step and actually think about the common person because they've walked a day in our shoes. They're not some multimillionaire, some billionaire who's never known what it's like to skip a meal for one day because they had to make sure their kids eat.
Exactly. No, I feel like you could just do my stump speech at this point. That's exactly how I feel.
Good, because again, like I said, that's what I'm looking for. And I know that's what a lot of people are looking for because I hear from a lot of people. I work with a lot of different kinds of communities. When I do my chair massage business, that is heavily the LGBTQ plus community, very heavily. So when I'm hiring therapists, I actually have to make sure I go through their things. And if they're pro-Trump, I can't hire them. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're most likely going to be prejudiced, racist, or bigotry towards my clients, and I can't do that. That's, first of all, it's not right as a human being, and second of all, I cannot tolerate that as a business owner.
Well, and that's really good. And I do think there's a value to me talking about dignity and justice all the time, and it's because I look the way that I look like. And the thing is, just because you're not impacted about something doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it. In fact, I think it's more important that we do talk about it because one, people who have been impacted by this have carried way too much of the burden for so long and not gotten enough help. And secondly, I want other people who look like me to see someone who looks like them fighting for what's right just for the sake of doing what's right. So I applaud you for, thinking about that and protecting people that come into your services.
Well, we have to. I was in a good conversation the other day and we talked about the difference between patriarchy and matriarchy and how patriarchy is about putting men first and matriarchy is about putting our future first, so our children. And I know a lot of men especially men that look like you, they fear the term matriarchy because they think it's just patriarchy but with women on top instead. And we'll be doing to them what they've done to us for the last few millennia.
Right.
When reality... No, we just want to make sure that the next generation is freaking taken care of. Like our kids grow up and are good, well-adjusted human beings. Like we talked about raising men into the next generation. And my son is the last year of Gen Z, but he's also probably one of the most empathetic, compassionate, kindest people you will ever meet. I've raised him to cry if he needs to cry. And if he doesn't feel comfortable crying in front of the people in front of him, that's okay. Then he can hold it in until he's in a place where he feels comfortable letting it out, that he shouldn't bottle up his emotions, that he should talk and express and all the things that I think men should be able to do. I started having him work with a child psychologist back in elementary school to make sure that he was well adjusted and that he could be a shining example for the next generation of men that we're trying to raise.
Yeah. I was also raised by my mom. So I've always been more in touch with the emotional side of what masculinity should be, not what it is, but what it should be. And I think that's especially important right now because of all of these grifters on social media who look like me, who are just doing that, peddling some bullshit about what alpha male looks like. And that always ends up meaning, you peel away the layers of that, is how you should hate women and put them in moments of servitude. And I think the irony of what you were saying is men are afraid of the matriarchy because they know what the patriarchy is and they don't want it done to them. So you're already acknowledging that it's unfair. You're already acknowledging that it's a moment of oppression and persecution. Mm-hmm. And throughout the history of the world, that's been proven time and time again. And I know what I look like. I'm aware of it. It's one of the reasons I always talk about how I have to earn it, regardless of what community I go to, because I'm a straight, white male, cisgender male, right? Yep. But that is why it's so important that people see me being a spokesperson for LGBTQ rights, whites being a spokesperson on racial justice and environmental justice, because they need to see examples of it. And I don't just want to do it a little bit and pay tribute. I want to be obnoxious about it. I want to make sure that I'm the kind of person who shows people this is how angry you should be, and maybe you won't get it right. Since I've been called out for saying the wrong thing before, but but I've always been given grace because I'm trying, and I'm trying with passion. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if everyone can't experience justice, then justice isn't real. If other people get more persecuted than other groups, then there's no such thing as justice in this country. And if you don't have justice, you don't have dignity. And if everyone can't have dignity, then what the hell are we doing here?
Thank you. Exactly. We are all human beings. And this is something I tell people is like, yes, you have a privilege. You do. As a straight white man, you have a privilege that a lot of us don't have. So you have to use that privilege to do the right thing and show other men that, guys, listen, listen to the women. They're right. And I'm supporting them. And now I'm doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And it's what we should have been doing all along.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does take somebody like you to stand up and say, hey, hi, I'm here. I'm doing the right thing. Can you give me a chance, please? Because I'm trying. I'm not perfect, but I'm at least trying. And a lot of us, we're just looking for that person who's genuinely trying, not saying they're going to do it, but actually putting forth the effort, and others are speaking on their behalf saying, oh no, like they're actually doing the work. Those are the kind of people we want, because those are the people who will hold everybody else accountable because they are holding themselves accountable.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I decided to run for office, is because you can believe in these things, and I'm a community organizer as the background, and I fight with people because I believe people can be their own champions. Like, how can I support, not from the back, not from the middle, but just in general? What are the kind of strategies I can employ with my knowledge of politics, political structures, and governmental structures to make sure that people have a fair shot? But eventually you hit a ceiling. Eventually you hit a politician of bad faith. Well, that's not, by the way, reserved for parties. It's not.
No,
it's,
no.
do they have the right direction? Do they have the right experience? Do they have the right perspective? And perspective and experience go hand in hand. And ultimately, we don't have a lot of that. We don't have a lot of that in the halls of power right now. So by running for office, maybe I can give them, a kick in the ass to remember that they should be fighting harder. But also, hopefully I can get there. But it's never been about Tim Cywinski going to Congress. It's been about reaching out my arm and pulling people up. They can come with me. That's the whole idea. That's the whole ball game. And if we don't do that, then maybe the Democrats will win in 2028 if we have a 2028 election, because I don't think that's even a given at this point. But if we continue to beg for power, but then refuse to wield it when we get there, then in 2032, you're just still going to get another MAGA acolyte. In 2032, we're still going to be right back where we are right now. And I've heard this a lot, is that like Democrats don't make anything worse, but they don't make anything better. So if the Republicans or the forces of hatred or MAGA keep making things worse, but we still stay the same, then nothing's actually working for everyday people, especially the people who are most vulnerable among us. So I'm going to let how we're going into a rant immediately. I'm all about this.
Hey, that's kind of how it works, where I have my questions, which we will touch on. And believe it or not, a lot of the stuff probably ties right back into all of it, because right now we're just ranting about basic human rights. Being human and having empathy and compassion for others, because we look at who our leadership is and we realize that is a stark difference between who the normal person is, because they have none. They have no compassion or empathy for somebody who is not part of their 1%. If you are part of that other 99%, if you are the rest of the world, they don't care. We need people who care.
Yeah. And a little bit about my background is that I worked 2 full-time jobs my entire academic career. And when I was in community college, because I couldn't afford to go 4-year school, I got a scholarship to go, but I had to load it up so that I can continue to work while I was there. So I would take 6-hour classes in the morning, drive an hour away to do bartending and serving. And then in night class days, I would work in the morning, then drive an hour away to go to class, sleep in my car so that I could make sure I made my 8:30 class on time. And I don't regret doing that. I was 19. I know I look young. I'm actually almost 36. But so I don't have the same energy to do that. And I'm proud of the fact that I was able to find that tenacity. But at the same time, no one should ever have to be in that position just to try to better themselves and try to work towards the things that are their dreams. Everyone deserves a shot at dignity. And if they have a shot at dignity, that means they have a chance to pursue their dreams. But so many people are priced out of even that pursuit in the first place. And to finer point on this, only 2% or less than 2% of all of congressional members have a working class background. And I do think there's an intersection with like working class and an understanding of like social justice in general, because when you're on the job, whether it's I was a shitty construction worker, I was a bartender, I was a waiter, I was a caterer, I like anything you can name of, like none of us cared to a certain extent of like what someone else looked like or what country they were from. If we're all doing the job, we were all in the same tapestry of shared struggle of like, one, this sucks. Two, we all know what it's like to have to, not know what is going to happen next. We're all treated like shit by our management. And like, we were able to bond. And it's not that we shouldn't acknowledge that vulnerable populations have a harder time. We do need to acknowledge it. It's important that we acknowledge it, but it's also important to remember that like, there's that one thing about them. There's also so much humanity on a full spectrum of humanity too. We got to do both. We got to do both, because if you recognize that second part, it's going to make that first part even more important to address.
Yep.
Oh.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. No, I really do.
Thanks.
No, I feel that because I did something similar. I worked nights. I put myself through school. I, started off at one place, finished there, went to another place, got a degree in business management, got a degree in psychology. Mm-hmm. And then at 35, went back to school again, went to a trade school, got my massage therapy, diploma. Awesome. I'm licensed. So at 35, I was actually able to go back to school and do the dream I had always wanted to do since I was 6, because I finally got my own personal pain under control, because then we can tie this all into healthcare too, because all that shit we did in our teenage years and our 20s, guess what? We're now paying for it in our 30s and our 40s because nobody told us, oh, by the way, you really shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing this and this. And if you stretch and you hydrate, your body's going to thank you. But nobody ever told us what hydration really looked like in a body. I mean, do you know what that is?
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree that we don't really have a healthcare system. We have a disease care system. Like, we have a condition care system. There's nothing proactive about these things. And people want to act like we want to save money on healthcare. Well, then let's address the underlying issues of the problem. But we don't do that because there's less money in it for the healthcare companies. That is really the whole ballgame.
And so in addition to being a massage therapist, I'm a wellness coach. So my job, the other part of it, is literally to sit there and help people figure out the root cause of why they are in pain, so we can get them to the right doctors on the right medication, get the right surgery, get what they actually need to treat what is going on in their body, so they actually can live a good quality life. And we live in a country where, like it or not, I'll use Indianapolis as an example just because I know these numbers for a fact, because I looked them up yesterday because I live just north of Indianapolis. Our air quality has failed for the last 48 days straight. It has failed. It is skyrocketing, the pollutants, because we have jets coming in at the Indianapolis airport.
Oh, yeah.
We have all of these different, natural gas plants and coal plants where they don't have any of the filtering in place that they had even last year, because it's cheaper to just not have it rather than replace it every 3 months. Like, they have to replace the filters every 3 months, but instead they're just letting all the pollutants come into the air. So if you go outside for 5 minutes, you come back inside, you will need to shower because your body will stink. Your clothes stink, your hair stinks, everything smells because the particulates in the air just adhere to you. Mm-hmm.
You're speaking my language, because my full-time job.
Humid.
Right. Well, and heat makes pollution heavier, and if it's heavier, it's easier to stick on us. Like you're speaking my language, because my full-time job is in environmental justice. So, or my real job, whatever. I'm a candidate, but it's also in environmental justice. So, it's Annapolis and what's going on there. That's obviously a shame. And it's a lot more money in it for like consistency. If that's just, let's replace the filters. Let's not do something to address the underlying issues. But also, according to the UN, 93% of the planet has unhealthy amounts of particulate matter, like you were just talking about. And it becomes a sole cycle of like this profit motivated economy and society that we have, where it's like, why would we address those issues? There's less money in it. And to put a finer point about like addressing the disease, and this kind of does metaphorically tie into my platform. When I was 27 or when I was 25 and 26, I had a herniated disc, and it was so bad I couldn't even tie my own shoe for an entire year. Like that, you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so you've had 3? Okay. And so, I couldn't even bend over because my body literally wouldn't let me, because the nerves were being blocked. I had terrible sciatica. I had to pretend like I could walk normally when I was really just swinging my hip instead of moving my whole leg, because I just physically couldn't. And I went to, 8 different doctors, and all of them, to a 26-year-old, otherwise healthy man, get surgery, get surgery, get surgery. And I was like, I don't want my spine to be fused if there's an alternative route. And only after going through all of those doctors did I do physical therapy. I did have a steroid injection, but physical therapy, and I combined that with swimming, and I was able to get fully recovered. But that was the thing, is if they had just started it at 25 instead of when I had to figure out when I was closer to 27, I would have saved a lot of time, I would have saved a lot of money, and I would have had a much happier life. But why would they do that when every time I go to another doctor who's going to tell me the same thing gets $100 copay?
22. 10 different doctors telling them about my pain. Between it's in my head because I'm a woman. It has to do with my hormones and my periods.
That's what I was about to say.
I take an antihistamine, decongestant. I'll feel better in the morning. And it's like, no, that's not why I'm in pain. Like there's something going on in my body. And it finally took me at 32, literally looking at the doctor going, I can't pick up my 5-year-old. I can't pick up my not almost 2-year-old. I can't play. I can't do anything. If you don't help me, I'm going to go home and unalive myself because I cannot live in this pain anymore. Yeah. And that's when I
know that exact thought. I know that exact thought. It's just because it's that bad. It really is that bad.
Right. We didn't know until we did the x-rays and the blood work and everything. Fibromyalgia, psoriatic arthritis, lateral combination scoliosis. So my torso twerks this way and this way, in addition to having curvature in my spine that twists this way as well. So I have hyperlordosis, hyperkyphosis. So I have this mess with my spine going that way. And then there's spinal column narrowing, spinal bulges, 3 different herniated discs, degenerative disc disease. I mean, from top to bottom. And that's just my back. That's my spine. That's not including anything else. That is just the spine.
Right.
32.
Right.
That was 9 years ago. I finally got the diagnosis. I spent 4 years in physical therapy, ended up with 2 neck surgeries. We popped the SI joint back into place, so I didn't have to get surgery there and have a fusion done. Oh, yeah. I was so thankful about that one. But it's that is my life. That is my story. And hold on, girly. And when I sit there and I'll tell people, okay, well, you don't think other people should have your money. You don't think this. I said, well, let's talk about somebody who's in their 40s. They should be on disability, but they're too able-bodied to be on disability. But they have 4 diagnosed autoimmune disorders. Physically, they can't work 40 hours. They can't stand for longer than 30 minutes at a time. They can't sit in front of a computer for longer than 90 minutes at a time. They can walk 2 miles, but after that, they have to rest their body for 10 hours. I'm like, just breaking it down for them. And they're like, oh, well, somebody like that should be on disability. And I'm like, right, so tell me why I'm not, because that's my story. And they're like, oh. I'm like, that is my story, able-bodied to be the fact that during the winter, I'm lucky if I can massage for 12 to 15 hours a week without being extreme pain. Right.
And so that's part of like the invisible illness thing is like, but that should just be for society. That's and I guess, and it comes back to when you hear this magic word efficiency, what that means to me in the healthcare system is less quality, less interest in the actual patients. And the thing is, you can go to college and get a healthcare administration degree and then end up running a hospital or being second or third in command in a hospital without ever having to experience what it's like to work with patients. And healthcare is like this, education is like this. It's weird metrics that come from the corporate profit motivated mentality, but these things are supposed to be public goods. These things are supposed to be something that are used as a tool when people are in the worst circumstance life can throw at them. And as long as we let that be for sale, it's only going to get worse for all of us. And I'm sorry about your story. And I wish I could also say that that's not common, but it is, especially for women.
And that's the thing I know my story's not unique. All of my stories, I know they're not unique. Yeah. There's millions of people who have something, if not exactly the same, very similar. That's the problem, is that millions upon millions of people have these stories and none of us should.
Exactly. Well, there you go. You could write. That's another stump speech. That's another stump speech line you could put in there.
Nothing wrong with that. So since we did just jump into everything, let's actually take it a step back and your platform. What is your platform? Like, tell me that.
Yep. Sure. So, working class background, community organizer, been working in politics in some form or another, whether it was like for the Senate or as a lobbyist for like nonprofits, nonpartisan stuff, working on education and environmental justice and economic fairness, whatever. I know exactly why politics doesn't work. And I also know that unless you can write the biggest check, you don't have the loudest voice. And so I think Republican, Democrat, everybody in between, they all feel like unless you have a lot of money, unless you're extremely wealthy, nobody gets a fair shot in this country. So I call my platform the Fair Shot Agenda. It's the idea that, like, while we were just having this great rant about healthcare, I cannot with a straight face say, hey, we're going to solve it. We're going to pass Medicare for all. Or we're going to make sure that we have a public option, because I know how it will get hung up. So my platform is, of course, we fight for those things. But on top of that, we got to be addressing the underlying issues that are keeping change stuck, that are keeping progress stalled. So the number one thing about that, and just so you know where I'm motivated from, is if you're not willing to fight big money in politics, you are not willing to fight for everyday people. I will not and cannot be convinced otherwise. And I know some people say, well, I can take corporate money, but use it for good. I don't know if I believe that, but also I'm not worried about those people. I'm worried about their colleagues. So instead of Citizens United Supreme Court decision that made all this mess. Of course, I want to get rid of it. But again, that's hard. That's hard to do. What can we do in the meantime? My plan's called Democracy Dollars. It's the idea that every voter is dedicated $500 voucher from the government that says where you can dole that out to any federal candidate for Congress to your choice. So like after our conversation, if people like this, they'd be like, okay, I can just go on the website and say, I want 25 of my $500 to go to Tim Cywinski. And now what you have is you give incentives to candidates to say like, okay, let me talk to everybody instead of just spending 12 hours in a room all day, just calling people who can give, $5,000, $700 is the max donation. And I'm not saying those people don't have problems, but I am saying if they get sick, they're not going to go bankrupt. I want to talk to the people who are on the other side of that issue. But the real beauty of this to me is not just making sure candidates have an incentive to go to talk to everyday people, because that's what they should just be doing naturally. It's that it allows everyday people to be able to run for office. So like, I'm not wealthy and well connected. So, and my fundraising numbers kind of reflect that, and I'm okay with that. Although I'm very big on grassroots small dollar donations, and how far I've gotten is impressive. But now other people like who have your story, who have like the similar story that you've been talking about, they might have large friend groups. They might be able to get on TikTok, and they might have like large, families. All $500 of those people can just go straight into your campaign, and you don't have to worry about the price of entry, because they purposely set it up so that you are priced out. To run for Congress, to have any kind of shot, you have to have $10,000. $10,000 right off the bat. That's outrageous, because who has an extra $10,000 lying around? And then how much time do you get to actually be able to file for it? Right? That's in Virginia anyway. Some states there's more, some states there's less. So it's an equalizer, because I think if the rules are fair, then the people who don't have right now, we win. We win every single time because we know what's at stake. So that's the first part. That's also my longest answer. The second part is about ethics. I think we have to raise the standard of what we should come to expect from politicians. There's no reason that they should be able to do insider trading where they're literally incentivized to enrich themselves by screwing everybody else over. We have to make sure that there's mandatory town halls, because we deserve the opportunity to have them look us in the eye and tell us why they made a controversial decision. We deserve the opportunity to ask them why they screwed us over. And then also when it comes to corporate lobbying, because that's very hard to legislate out of, I do want public transcripts for every corporate lobby meeting that they ever had. And at the bottom of that public transcript, there is a little line that says, did they receive donations from the person representing the organization of this meeting? Yes or no, and how much? So we empower voters again. We empower us with the opportunity to influence our elected officials by showing them that we're paying attention, that we're willing to hold them accountable. We empower us by saying, like, you cannot enrich yourself by screwing me over. And we empower us by being able to see how those meetings went down and who's getting influenced and by what. And so that's number two. And then the third thing has to do with our economy. It's upside down. And tax policy is a reflection of values, and our federal government values corporate greed and greedy billionaires a lot more than they value hard work, like exactly what you were telling me about what you were doing today and the challenges you have to deal with. You pay more taxes than any billionaire in this country. You pay more taxes than any corporation that is multinational or very wealthy and well off, right? I want to flip the script. I want to tax work less and tax corporate greed and greedy billionaires more, so that we can put money back into people's pockets immediately, and we pay for it. And we also dedicate this money to public benefits programs like healthcare, like education, like infrastructure, like building more community centers and connecting us again, by closing corporate loopholes and making sure that greedy billionaires pay their fair share. And to just put a whole, why this is necessary, Jeff Bezos is the fourth richest man in the world. He also took the child tax credit. He was allowed to take the child tax credit. Meanwhile, 25% of Amazon warehouse workers are on food assistance right now. And I don't mind that they're on food assistance. I mind that Jeff Bezos pays more taxes than those people on the food assistance programs. I do. You shouldn't be able to be that well off and have 25% of your employees in warehouses steal from the taxpayer base, because that's what it is. And I want to be obnoxious about what it is. And if they're going to continue to steal from us, then you create less opportunity, less dignity in this country. And when you have that, you create the perfect ecosystem that allows someone like Donald Trump to come to power, that allows MAGA to thrive. You create the perfect society where bad faith politicians can thrive because they can keep saying, look over there, not look over here. Because if you look over here, you'll see I'm not doing my job. So blame your neighbors instead. I'm tired. I'm tired of all the hatred. I'm tired of all the greed. And unless we do these things to our government and our legislative bodies, then I can't expect us to get out of the hole that we find ourselves in.
No.
That's my platform.
100%. I love that. I keep in mind, I take notes while I have conversations with people so that I make sure that I know, because here's my part is I plan on being the person that helps to hold people accountable. So one of the things I ask is, throughout the course of your campaign, I would like to have you on once every 4 to 6 weeks until the primary, and then even after that to find out what next steps are based on the primary results. Okay?
Sure.
And then if you get elected, you know what? Every 3 months or so, let's get together for an hour or two, and you can talk to me and tell everybody and show if you're holding true to everything you've said you're going to do, what you're doing in office, how you're going to help, who you're working with to make the things happen. Talk to us about the obstacles. Let us know what's going on, because a lot of times that's what we want to know is we're not so out of touch that we don't want to know what's going on there, but there's so much going on. There's 100 new headlines every day that it makes it hard for people to stay on top of what's really going on and what matters. So
and that's what
let's do some of that for them.
I love this,
because now you talk to them.
You're not just platforming candidates, you're platforming accountability at the same time, both for the people in power, but also the people who want to understand more of these issues. I mean, one of the reasons that I want this mandatory town hall thing is because if I make a controversial decision, I do owe it to you to explain myself. I do owe it to everybody who this may have impacted to understand to explain why those things. I think we've reached a point where we've been gaslit into thinking that politicians have it hard. Maybe they do, but that's what they signed up for. This is the most controversial thing that you could do. It's supposed to be hard because you're supposed to be a public servant. And we've gotten away from the facts or the reality that the House of Representatives, which I'm trying to get into, was designed to be the most accessible part of our federal government. That's how it's supposed to be set up. That's why it's number 3 in line for the presidency, because it was the people's house. Now, just touch on the history. We mean it was the white men's house, right? But it was like the whole point of like our imperfect democracies, though, it can get better. But we've reached a point where it's getting worse. And because that sounds like a joke now, you can't just walk into your congressperson's office, even if you voted for them or even if you gave them money, and expect them to talk to you. Like but it should be that way. So what you're saying, I think, is just a kind of a reflection of my values of accountability that I think we're so missing. And one of the reasons that I'm running and trying to be as loud and as proud about these things is because I want to raise the standard of what we should come to expect from our politicians, because getting shitty politicians and not holding them accountable is how we got here in the first place.
Well, and that's why I keep telling everybody, let's vote the politicians out and vote the representatives in, and that's why I like using the different terminology, because politicians to me is always, it's scummy, it's dirty, it's money. It's greed, it's avarice. That's what's been tied to it over the last 40, 50, 60, 70 years. It's not politicians are there to do politics and then go back home. They're there to make money and get wealthy off of the back of everybody else.
Right.
That's what modern day politicians have become. And that's
I can't argue against it. Yeah, it is.
That's just it. Nobody can. It's like, no, you're not wrong. And so it's like, I'm well aware of that, but it's, again, why I'm finding you and like Ethan Wetchulek and Erica Kopp, I have her on Friday, and all the people
she's great.
Who, even if you're running against them, I don't care. Bring me all 5 people running in your district. Let's have a conversation with all of them so we know all of their people and actually vote the best one in based on their platform, their ideas, and what we think they can achieve. That's the whole point. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's not what's been happening, because it comes to name recognition, and I do ask everybody, I'll reset it in just a second, Joe. When it comes to campaigning, I know money is usually the number one issue people run into, is they need more money. Outside of that, what do you feel is the number one thing that might be inhibiting your campaign and possibly preventing you from succeeding?
It's the machine of the establishment. I don't mind talking about this because what are they going to do? Not endorse me even harder, right?
Right.
I knew when I decided to announce myself, because I'm not a golden goose for fundraising, which I don't know if you've ever been on like the Democratic emails. Like anytime there's a big issue, their solution to it is fundraising. And that does
Yeah.
a reflection of what they value in candidates. It's how much money you can raise. They don't want to talk about your platform. They don't want to talk about your issues before you even get there. The same thing is true for like large endorsement organizations that you would like, that champion like these issues. They won't give money or endorse candidates if they don't reach certain thresholds, like as much as like
Yep.
$50,000 to $250,000 is your threshold
Yep.
before we'll even start to talk to you. And what they
Yep.
do, of course, is that without realizing it, you're incentivizing people to take bad money and take as much of it as they possibly can so that we can get your name associated with us. It's ridiculous. But then the same thing is that like there is something that the left does that the right does not do, and that is I knew I was going to have to kick down every door I walked through for this campaign because of my background. I did not know that those doors would be welded shut. So we ask our own organizations, hey, can I come give a speech to your group? Not in a primary, not before we have everybody else on. We got to check all these boxes that are based off this game that has been built to strategically disadvantage people who are outsiders to come in. And the same thing happens when people who are like, you've ever seen a candidate campaign really hard, but then govern really soft. It's because they don't realize that they're playing the game. The game that is decided by other people, written by bad actors, but then we're told at the same time, you got to play it this way, even though that doesn't have anything to do with the actual reason we ran for office, and that's you. That's all of you. That's the thing. We have to change the rules. This is why I call myself a reformist Democrat. It's the idea that I have to acknowledge the fact that this game is not going to work for me. And if it's not going to work for me, it's not going to work for you. So what can I do as Congress? I can try to change those rules. And that includes how I act and what I focus on, but also where I go and who I talk to and who I highlight. Because when you're a congressman, the press follows. A platform comes with you. Who do we get to bring on that so that they have to look us in the eye and tell us no? That's what I want to do.
Yep. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. What, like Fetterman? He's saying like Fetterman. Like
Fetterman was one of those people who like campaigned hard and governed soft, but Fetterman's in a league of his own for like disappointment. That guy just abandoned everything that he was. And, maybe it's because of his health struggles and his mental health struggles. And he's just kind of, but that's unfortunate, right? But that's also a good example of how once you get in, it chews you up, spits you out, and you become something you don't recognize.
Yep.
That won't be me because I've seen it from the outside. I've seen it from the inside. I know what to expect. And I don't have to kiss the ring of anybody in order to get there. I have to earn this, and it's going to be really hard. This is David and Goliath all the way through. And me and Erica might not be running against each other anymore, by the way, because we did this redistricting thing where her and I were running against, where the front runner was the second most funded candidate in the primary race to now I'm running against the most funded candidate in the primary race. But I'm proud of that. And that's just me and him. So that's one advantage, I guess, unless Erica jumps into that. But I think she's doesn't matter. But like,
I have to wait for them like over the next few days to finish all the redistricting so I know who's in what district so I can update my spreadsheet.
Right, exactly. But I'm in Virginia 1 no matter what. So it's either the 95 corridor up to Fairfax or on suburbs and rural areas to the western part of the state or the eastern part of the state. But regardless of who it is, like these ideas need to be heard, regardless of how well funded they are and how little funded I am. I want to show people that we have to try. We have to try. If we don't try right now, and if it doesn't work out for me, at least I went all the way through and maybe someone better than me can come next. But I got to make sure that I go through this entire process because I owe it to every single person who's ever struggled, who's ever felt, overlooked and not for nothing. The vast majority of my donations are less than $50. They're less than $50. And a lot of my monthly donations are $10 or less because they're people I organize with them because they didn't have a lot of money and no one else would go. I owe it to those people to see this all the way through, and I owe it to them to give it everything I got. And maybe it's not enough, but I gotta try.
And you know what? Here's the thing is, and this is what I tell people is the vast majority of people I've talked to, this is their first attempt. And here's the thing is, let's be honest, 90% of the time you don't succeed your first time trying. It's the truth. Like, you might get lucky, you might succeed the first time, but it's most likely going to be the second time. Why? Because what I have found that people run into is name recognition. is they recognize the person who has the money's name, so they vote for them. Because you're the little guy they don't recognize. The name recognition's not there because of how small you are, which is why I'm trying to do this and be like, okay, well, so when we get done, I will get you a copy of the video. I will get it onto YouTube. You can tell all of your friends, go check it out. We'll share it. We'll get you out to as many people as possible in a shortest amount of time.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Because that is how you get the votes, is you make sure people know your name. It's really that simple.
Yeah, and see, you're getting at why the money thing is such a problem, is that for like getting less valuable and less impressive candidates who are frankly just out of touch. Because if you just have a lot of access to money, then the cheat code is you don't have to go out and give speeches. You don't have to go and shake hands. What you have to do is just raise a bunch of money so you can pay for a mailer and campaign commercials so that your name recognition goes up. And then when people go vote in the primary, they'll be like, well, the only name I know is that person's. That's it. Yep. That's the cheat code. And that is what the entire Democratic establishment, unfortunately, is based on. And what that also does is means that don't say anything to ever offend anyone. So don't have any bold ideas, because somebody who may be one of the people who will give us a lot of money won't like it until you have manicured talking points. And also, that's the other thing. Have a manicured talking point in your back pocket all the time. Look, I've done this for 17 effing years. I better have an answer to everything. And if I don't have it with substance, and it's just something that has no depth other than something I thought of to say beforehand, then I'm not that good. I didn't earn it. That's the whole point. That's why if I had the choice and if I had the ability to, I would have 2 or 3 town halls every single day from now until election day, because that's what earning it looks like. And that is something that we forgot to look for in politicians.
Yep. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. So from here, I know we talked about a little bit of that. Let's talk taxing the corporations and wealthy, because here's the thing is I sit in other people's panels and I hear a lot of, well, they're not entitled to my money. They're not entitled to my taxes. They're not entitled to what I paid. Yeah. What is your response for that?
Are you saying that the corporations say that? Like the other side says that? That's
I have people who come in who will, actual citizens who sit there and, because they're on the MAGA, the Republican side, they're more of the right leaning. And they're sitting in there and saying that anybody else is not, so they're not entitled to their money and their taxes. So how dare we, talk about taxing the wealthy and taxing their money that they earned?
Do you love this country or do you love yourself? That's the difference to me. We have let patriotism be defined by selfishness and greed for so long, and the Democrats haven't had a good answer to when the Republicans try to monopolize it. I want my money to go to make sure that no one has to ever experience what you went through before. I want my money to make sure that no kid has to go hungry any night. I don't care what they look like. I don't care where they're from. I don't care how much money their parents make. It's the country I want to be, because the success of all of us is tied to the success of all of us. And if that's fine. But by the way, you can do that by actually lowering taxes on most of us and making sure that the people who have specifically created a society, an economic system that has only exacerbated those problems, actually pay their fair share. Patriotism to me is about thinking about how we lift everybody up. It's not measured by how much money a few people can cultivate. It's not measured by an economy where Wall Street is gaining steam, but everyone else is getting lower. It is about making sure what we do for the least of us. And that's what patriotism is. And if anybody wants to think otherwise, then fine, we can disagree. But I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that we get to my version of patriotism, not theirs.
Right. So then we have the issue where we have people who are cash poor, but they look rich, right? Because they have all of their money tied up in investments, and then they're living off of the interest from those investments, which is not taxed. Right. Not taxed at all.
Right.
So it's tax-free money they are living off of. So they don't actually ever have any earned income, period, because everything is a tax write-off.
Yeah, so this gets to the heart of it. I had to speak to that patriotism thing because it always just makes me mad when people are like, well, I don't want my money. Well, I do. And that's how this works. Our tax code is 7,000 pages long, but if you are only on income, it's only 182 pages long. The rest of it, there is a little bit of a child tax credit section there that are actually legitimately good, also for small businesses that are good, but the vast majority of it is just corporate loopholes. And by the way, not for nothing, 9 out of 10 small businesses don't actually get the tax deductions they're supposed to because it's so overly complicated that you have to afford an accountant that can understand it in the first place. So 9 out of 10 small businesses don't even benefit from the tax code. This is the reason I call myself a reformist. It's not just about the party. It's not just about our values. It's not about our political culture. It's also about the policy. Get rid of the current tax code and rewrite it from the start with my philosophy. Tax work less. Tax greed and greedy billionaires more. That's it. And if we do that, we can actually start rebuilding the middle class, people who know what it's like to work for a living, as opposed to it shrinking right now, which is what we've been stuck in for the last 40 years, is just shrinking of the middle class. And because we've gotten to the point where all of the most common goods is just like housing, for example. That's just rich selling to rich. If we taxed hoarded housing by corporations, not just wanting to promise to build more of them, then we take away the incentive from them to act that way. Incentivize good behavior. The biggest tax incentive you can ever receive is that whether or not you give profit sharing with 100% of your employees, including contractors. And it doesn't have to be a lot, 1%, 2%. That goes a long way in making sure that those workers can build wealth. And it costs you with executive pay practically nothing, even if you're a small business owner, because we're going to use that to make sure that we have a healthcare system where small businesses don't have to do the burden and they can actually unlock raises and wealth sharing like they could be before. The worst kind of tax penalties will be buying up corporate housing, using those stocks as collateral so they don't have to pay tax incentives. Nope, that is one of the things that will be the toughest, because every time a company does that thing where they're basing it off stocks so they can buy it back again, that always comes with layoff of workers. It's a whole grift. The whole thing is just a grift. And now with the rise of what they call AI, even though it's not actually AI, that's only going to accelerate further. So that's where we are. It's like rewrite the tax code from the jump, take away all these corporate loopholes, make sure that tax incentives go to mothers and teachers and families and small businesses, so that small businesses can compete with big businesses is another thing, and that regular workers can compete with executives. Because again, if the fight is fair, we win. We win 10 out of 10 times. If I had a lot of money, I would bet on that fight, as long as it's a level playing field. So that's really how I feel about it. But because we can nitpick at the tax code all day,
right,
but there's so much of it that's wrong. Let's just burn it with fire, start over, have a good philosophy behind it.
No, and honestly, I feel like a lot of that genuinely ties into unions. Like my husband is part of a union, and I hear people, because we're talking about unionizing in my industry, the massage therapist industry, and I think we should, because, well, so let's say you go to a spa, you pay $120 for a massage, relaxation, nothing special. Do you know how much of that your therapist actually makes?
I have no idea.
$20, if they're lucky. At a lot of places, it's between $15 and $17 per hour. But we have to go to school. We have to have licenses. We are HIPAA compliant. We have all these things, but we are not paid a living wage. But we continue education. So I have to get 24 hours of continuing education every 4 years. I have to continue investing money into my career, into growing. But there's no return from anybody for that. There's no, let me help you, let me do this. So part of what I'm trying to do with my small business is I want to show to my industry that we can actually do it right. I pay my employees what I pay myself, half of the service commission.
That's great.
So if they're paying $100, you're going to be earning $50. They pay $150, you made $75. Why? Because if there's a discount, guess what? It's $150, but they paid $120. You still get $75. The company eats the difference. I'm not going to take from your wages because you're busting your ass for me. I want to show we can pay more than a living wage. We can pay a thriving wage, and we can still succeed as a company. We can still do the things we want to do.
And not for nothing, I mean, you're going to have more loyalty among your employees for doing it that way than you otherwise would. They're going to work harder than they otherwise would. They're not going to get burnt out like they otherwise would. That's what I'm talking about. That is the good behavior that my tax plan would reward, so that you wouldn't have to pay as much taxes as Amazon, which just announced another 16,000 layoffs for their company, but yet they don't pay nearly as much taxes as you or your business, and they get rewarded for it. That's flip the script. This is why we flip the script. And I don't think this is too much to ask for a lot of reasons. But exactly what you were saying about the continuing education thing, every time there's an economic downturn, it is always us who has to tighten our belts. It's always us who has to accept higher prices on education, or worse quality education for public school, or higher healthcare costs, or worse crumbling infrastructure, or less public benefits. We're always us. And what do we do for them? They get a tax break. They get a bailout. After we've done that for them so many times, I don't think it's so much to ask that they pick up the tab for once.
No, it's not. And again, we can tie everything into healthcare and the EPA and the environment, and everything is tied to corporate greed. It really is. If you look at the defining moment of what drives everything in this country, it's capitalism and corporate greed. It really is. And you can see it across the board where, you know, you look at how we price things in America versus other countries. Perfect example. Most of the formulas we buy in America are not sold in other countries because they're not healthy. They don't pass their what we'll call their FDA guidelines. Whereas in our country, oh, no, it's fine. That might actually kill your kid in 50 years, but it's fine. A little bit right now won't hurt them. Whereas in other countries, oh, no, where they're not even putting that into the bodies.
Yeah.
That's a huge, you know, that's kind of shows where, again, health-wise, food-wise, where it is, because they're going to give us the cheapest, most unhealthy things that it can be processed and created in boxes as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
They're killing us. They're killing us slowly and surely.
When the economy is this bad, they'll say, well, we can't raise the prices. And then because we're so desperate to just get along right now, living paycheck to paycheck, we just say, well, that's how it has to be. That's a perfect example of how we're gaslit into lowering our expectations. But they created an ecosystem, an economic ecosystem where it's almost impossible to thrive unless you are very lucky and were able to work hard, or you were born into a family where you have those doors opened up for you. That's exactly it. And then they turn us against each other because that makes us look over here. That makes us look horizontally instead of vertically. Because if we look up, we'll see that they're not doing their fucking job. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I was allowed to say fuck twice.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. But yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's because I completely agree. And I've been lucky enough that I've been able to visit different countries. Well, a couple times, you know, I'm not going to like luxurious resorts, but I'm like in the thick of it with the people. Like I like to learn more about it. And you can just tell that the quality of food's there because especially in certain countries, the rules and regulations, they're built around people. In America, the rules and regulations, they're built to serve businesses. And until we break that mentality, all we can ever think about is that we're going to get worse quality and probably at this point, higher prices. Like the big experiment of like, at least everything was cheap. That's going away too. Right now in my state, 51% of Virginians are going into debt just to afford groceries. Like, and also the food that they want to buy is exactly what you're talking about. Like we are accepting scraps, less than scraps from the most lavish table in history. And this is the product of it. So yeah. And this is another reason like saying things like this is why it's very hard to get noticed by the powers that be, is because they don't want to hear that part. It's the hard part and it requires a long-term plan. But, and I say this to people all the time, it's like, what is the vision of the Democratic Party? You know, they don't really have one. Make America Great Again is disgusting, but it's a vision. And there's probably people who want to leave there, but we don't have an op-ramp because we aren't giving people something to look up towards. We're only giving them things to be against. My vision is we fight for everyone, everywhere, every time, no exceptions. And until we embrace that, politics is just going to stay the same.
And that's exactly it is. We have to be the change we want to see. We have to put people into positions of power, especially on the local, the state, and then, you know, the basis of the federal level in order to get the people who want change for the right reasons. It's the right kind of change for the right reasons into, you know, positions where they can actually help to steer the rest of the party. Be like, okay, well, guys, sitting here and doing this while we let the Republicans do whatever they want is not okay. We can't keep doing that.
Exactly.
That's no. So instead, we need people to be like, hey, we have 10 of us over here that we're talking about these 3 topics. Why don't you guys join us and see if we can't get everybody together and like do, you know, age limits? Because I'm not sorry when I say 30 years on the Supreme Court, you should not be selling the Supreme Court still.
No.
You know, so we have term and age limits. We talk about health care. We talk about, you know, taxing the rich. The 3 top most important things where if we do, we're going to actually see the most amount of change in the least amount of time. They're going to be hard to implement.
Exactly.
It's going to be chaotic. But it's doable.
But like when we fight for those bold things, like I said, my tax plan of taxing work less and corporate greed and greedy billionaires more, like that's popular with the right too. That's popular with like areas that don't play that. It's not just a way to like provide immediate relief for those families who are going to debt to afford groceries like I'm talking about. It's also a viable political strategy. I want to go to places and say, we're the party who fights for you. They're the party holding us up because they fight for the people who can absolutely, undoubtedly afford it. Look at them. Look at us. That's the difference. And then how do you lose an election when that's on full display? That's one of the key issues. you know? And then also, and then like if we do that, and we can, there's a school of thought out there that I don't agree with, where it's like if you either go all in on the economy and don't listen to dignity and right stuff. We can do both. That's the thing. We can be bold and we can be brash and we can be as obnoxious about the truth and who we fight for as the other side is about hatred and division and scapegoating. That's what we need to be. That's what people deserve to know. But like I said, in 2026, you have a whole bunch of insurgent candidates like me, like Erica. She's wonderful, but they're not going to give us a fair look because we don't fit the mold. And that's okay. That's okay because I want people to see that the odds are against me, that I'm an underdog, and I'm going to try anyway. An underdog fighting for underdogs, that means we have to fight for each other.
Yep. And I can sit here and start talking like I know at least 3 other people that are running for the federal level U.S. House of Congress who agree with the whole corporate tax. There's one lady I was talking to in her state by 2030, corporate tax will be 0%. That is one of the top things she wants to change. She believes that we need to tax the corporations, period. We need to tax the working class less and we need to tax the businesses more. And it's like, yes, because you were right. As a business owner, honestly, even though it's a small business, I'm okay paying a bit more in taxes if that means that everybody's taken care of.
I'm not okay with that because, well, I mean, that's great. But also, like I said, you're doing this thing where you're paying your employees a fair wages.
Right.
But the way we rebuild the middle class is with small and medium-sized businesses getting an edge. They get their own little stimulus and Wall Street can stay the same. They pay more. I really believe that because as long as we just have big businesses overshadowing what the true high quality services that you provide, you're always going to be at a disadvantage. Until we close the gap there, the middle class can't grow because small businesses are going to do exactly what you're doing, paying your employees a livable, fair wage that's reflective of the quality that they do. Big businesses will not do that because we don't live in an economy based off workers or customers. We live in an economy based off shareholders. And you have to address that, but you can't devalue the shareholder economy without propping you up first. So not to disagree with you, but I want to shoot even further for the stars.
I love that. But that's the thing is, as a business owner, and mind you, I expect to eventually not be a small business owner.
Yes.
I expect to eventually have health and wellness centers in every state across the United States that are one-stop health shops where you can go and you can find a massage therapist, a physical therapist, a GP, a dermatologist, a neurologist, a spine doctor, like all the different kind of specialists you could need because I have 7 of them. My farthest one away is 2.5 hours. 2.5 hour drive to see them for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the best in the state, still willing to do it. But that's just it is I want to bring that kind of quality care to people that's accessible instead of them having to settle for the bottom of the barrel doctors who don't care. They don't talk to each other. They don't interact. They don't actually share information from the massage therapist to the physical therapist to the doctor. No, like what I do, I work with the chiropractor. I make notes for him. And then if it's really important, I make a separate note on a piece of paper and I put it on his desk.
Right.
It's in the system. And then do you know about this? Can we do this? Can we get an MRI or x-ray? Like, can we do this stuff? He does it. I can't prescribe, I can't request, but I can say, hey, Doc Wise, will you order an MRI or an x-ray? Here's why I think they need it. Because XYZ does it, done.
Yeah.
Why can't it be that easy across the board with all doctors? Like the communication. Why can't it just be that? Instead of, well, I have to tell 7 different people my story, and I'm tired of telling everybody my story.
Sorry, I had to wait 3 months for this specialist, and then it turns out this specialist wasn't the right person, so I got to go to another specialist, but I got to wait 3 months for that one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh yeah, I'm with it. Yeah. And again, circles back to what I was saying is I want to make it easier for you to get to that point of having a wellness center in every single state. And then when you get there, then you can pay a little bit more. But let's open up the pathway for you to have that lofty and ambitious and wonderful dignity-centric goal. I think that's just too hard right now. And I believe even with the odds against you'll be able to do it. I want to make sure that we can make sure that people like you get there first. And then when you're there, and I don't think you'll mind if there's competition. I don't think you'll mind if there's other people who can get there too. Exactly. Why don't we listen to you and that philosophy as where we should be headed as a country and as an economy? That's what I'm saying. And this is why, again,
in our industry, you have to understand, like, literally the name of our groups are cooperation without competition. Indiana Massage Therapist, in parentheses, it says cooperation without competition.
Love
That's where
that.
I actually put my postings trying to find massage therapists to come work for me at my big chair events where I have 2,000 to 3,000 attendees. I can't handle that all by myself.
Yeah.
I need
Right.
4 other people to come work for me. So I
Right.
put in there like, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. It's $50 an hour. The equivalency is $12.50 a person. You know,
Hmm.
you make what you work. If you don't want to work, you don't get paid. If you want to work on 50 people, you work on
Yeah.
50 people. I don't care. I will have
Right.
the space there for you to make the money you want to make.
That's
Please
awesome.
just come work for me. That's all I want.
Right.
Only requirement
Right.
is you have to have an active license. And I
Right.
told them, I said, we're going to be at Billy Creek Village. You're welcome to come camp, cosplay, and LARP. It is not a requirement. If you don't want to, just wear comfortable clothes.
It's cool.
But I do remind them, and I'm aware it's going to be warm, and it's going to be hot. Please keep the excess skin to a minimum. Meaning, if you show your arms, legs, shoulders, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no mini skirts with bikini tops.
Right. Right. Got it.
I'm just
That
as hot
sounds
as
good.
you are. We're not sexualizing this.
Well, speaking of events, I
But
do have to go in a bit. Sorry,
okay,
just yeah,
no,
let's just got so many booked for so many things, but please continue. I just wanted to just
no, I
yeah
love this.
more.
So
Hmm.
we'll go to campaigning.
Yeah,
How has campaigning been? Like, I know that your primary is on August 4th.
thank
I
you.
know that when I looked at this the other day, you were running against 8 others. I know that in the next few days, I'm going to be re-looking at all of that and finding out who
Hmm.
you're actually running against, who Erica's running against, all of that. Find out how
Hmm.
the districts, were remapped. So that way
Yeah,
we have more information and we can actually like better put you out there and say like, oh, he's going against
thank
this
you.
person and this person. All of that.
Yep. So I'll be going against only one person if the maps hold, at least as of right now.
Okay.
So that's what it looks like. But either way, so maybe one person will jump in last minute. I don't know. But the
Okay.
one I'm in a primary with as of right now with the new maps is the most is has the most in his war chest for campaign
Right.
than anyone else in the state. So it's going to be Herculean either way. It's going to be a David and Goliath story either way. I had a different campaign strategy altogether when there was 9 of us. Now it's got to have to refocus. And luckily, my
Yes.
last strategy was like, I don't have to raise a lot of money in order to do this. My new strategy, I'll probably have to figure out some way to get a little bit more. But
Right.
I've always told people this: I'm not in this to raise the most money. I just need to raise enough. But
Yep.
again, only because that opens doors for me to be in front of people. It's never been about like the cheat code we were talking about before. It's like, can I rent this space and then hold a town hall? Can I pay for this event that for a charity that is a worthy cause, but I need $250 to get a ticket? Can I get a couple banners that say, I'm Tim Cywinski, Reformist Democrat for Congress. Ask me anything. Things like that. Can I put that enough there? So that's the strategy. It's true grassroots. It's about shaking the most hands. It's about answering the most questions. It's about having the boldest ideas. And I'm still figuring out how to do that with on a budget, I guess, if you will, because my opponent or my competitor in the primary doesn't have one. But that's okay. That's okay. It's supposed to be hard. I got to earn this, and you can't
Here's the
earn anything
thing.
without trying.
I love the fact that you're trying to do it with a budget because here's the
Yeah.
thing. We need people in office who know how to budget. I'm not
Right.
sorry when I say this. I'm going to bring up Ethan Wetchulek's run for just a second. So
Hmm.
he is running in Maryland. He is running against 2 people who have both had that seat before. One of them
Hmm.
is a multimillionaire. The other one is a billionaire. Neither of them
Hmm.
have ever known what it's like to be part of the working class and actually be
Exactly.
part of the working class. They've never known a poor day in their life. They don't know what it's like
Exactly.
to walk a day in our shoes. So
Yeah.
he's going against somebody so the dude, the billionaire, he dropped his seat and ran for Senate, lost after sinking $63 million
Hmm.
of his own money into his campaign, not including the rest of the campaign contributions. That was just him, and he lost.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it blows my mind that $63 million and you can still lose?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Kamala Harris raised $1 billion and still lost. I mean, that's part of the problem is that like this is why the party has gone so out of touch. This is exactly it. It's we value money the most, good ideas and good candidates second. Not that Kamala Harris wasn't, a decent candidate for president. It was kind of like where are we going
Right.
to pull out of the whole situation?
Yep.
And of course I voted for her. But like, where's the recruiting at this level? At the federal level right
Yep.
now, what's supposed to be the most accessible part of the federal government, there is no recruiting. It's how much can you fundraise? And I've been told that multiple times is the party's looking for a fundraiser. And if you're not a fundraiser, they don't think of you as a team player. Well, I think what I should be doing instead is being in front of the most people, answering the most questions, being bold and being brash, being obnoxious about what I think we need to do for this country so that people who are working class or who are part of a vulnerable group, they have a fair shot too. That's why I'm Tim Cywinski running for Congress, is because dignity should never be open for fucking negotiation in this country. But we've been gaslighting into believing that that's the only thing we have. We can choose something different. We can choose reform. That's why I'm running. And we'll see how it goes.
I love it. No,
anyway, I do have to go soon, but yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, we're going to wrap up. I was going to say, yeah, Jess, he actually brought up earlier the fact that only 2% of Congress represents the working class. I mean, that's part of his platform. Like, that is one of the first things he said, and it's true. We don't have enough people in Congress who represent us. And yes, Jess, he's actually on the list of people I was going to have you reach out to interview. So Tim, Political Jess, is going to reach out, probably one or two others, because I'm giving them the list of the candidates I've interviewed that I think they really should bring on, because it was such a great experience, good conversation. And you're right, we are all tired of the same old bullshit. We are all tired of it. We want difference. We want change. We want new.
Yep. And I think I am hoping I'm offering that, but I have using my political experience and my working class experience and my struggling health experience to inform everything. But I know the pathways. We just got to stop. We just got to stop following the rules that were specifically designed to disadvantage us. Fuck the rules. Yep. Let's change them, but we got to change them together. So thank you. And thank you for.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, sometimes certain rules are made to be broken so that new ones can be made.
Yeah.
That's how reform works.
That's a reform. And I'm a reformist Democrat. Yes. So thank you.
And I love that. And I love that because I've talked to socialist, progressive, and you're the first reformist Democrat. And I like how you guys kind of just, based on what you want for the country, kind of differentiate. But it's still nice because it's right. You are a reformist. You want to reform everything. And that's where we need to start.
People are going to call me whatever they want to call me, socialist, communist, soy boy, whatever. If I get to call myself anything, I want it to be the business I stand on, and I stand for reform. So that's why I call myself that. Thank you. This has been a pleasure. And doing this, by the way, helps us close the gap on that awareness. And I really appreciate it. I owe you one. I'll do whatever. You don't even have to, if I get to Congress, you don't have to do a video. You can come in, we can sit in my office and talk together.
Oh, I plan on already, if you guys get to Congress, I'm a licensed massage therapist. I have already plans to bring my table and work on all of you. Like, y'all got elected. I have 10 new clients. Congratulations. I'm coming out for a weekend working on all of you.
I get one every 3 or 4 months on my back just to make sure I'm keeping good things going. So yeah, I will absolutely take that, but I will also pay you. Don't do it for free. You deserve work. Work gets compensation.
Doing it for free. Okay, it's one of those, when I massage, I get paid. This is free. Massaging is not. Okay.
Awesome.
But I'll let you go. I'll get the best email address from you. I'll shoot you a text, and then we'll get you rescheduled, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much again. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you're doing. Appreciate everyone who watched this. Sorry I ranted so much, but,
loved it.
It's the only thing we could do.
I love it. That's what I want, is it was you. That's what we want. You.
Thank you. All right. Take it easy.
Have a good night, Tim.
Thank you.
Oh, I hate it when it flips over and it gives me funky face. It is. And that's just it is. He's passionate. And when people are passionate, I can't help but sit here with the biggest smile on my face because I'm like, you have the same level of passion I do. You're going to go far, even if it's not this time around. Because I understand, for the vast majority of people, this is their first run. And let's be honest, 90% of the time, you don't succeed the first time you try something, right? Let's just be honest. In life, how often do you actually succeed the first time you try something, especially something big? More often than not, you don't. It's okay. That's where, name recognition. If you don't succeed this time, you will get it next time. Why? We will make sure that everybody knows your name. So that way, I know his name. I'll vote for him because name recognition. I redacted. So that was Tim Cywinski. He is running in Virginia. He is still in Virginia's District 1 with the remapping. He believes he's only going to have one opponent, maybe two at the most. So over the next few days, I'm going to keep an eye on that. And then once they've actually stabilized and confirmed the districts, I will be updating my notes to make sure that I have Erica Kopp still in the right district because she was in District 1 and I'm not sure which district she'll be in now. But I do have her on Friday. And by the way, Sally Busby, amazing interview. Absolutely loved her. She's fantastic. But I'm going to wrap up today. Again, that was Tim Cywinski. He's running in Virginia for their Congressional District 1. That is the federal level. So I will have him back on here in another few weeks. I have 2 interviews tomorrow, 2. The first one is with Melissa Dono. She is out of Texas. She is running for the Texas House of Representatives, District 38. She'll be on with me at 2 p.m. And then we have a second one tomorrow at 6 p.m. And that is Adam Dunnigan. And he is running out of Virginia for their Congressional District 8 on the federal level. So that'll be 6 p.m. So we have 2 tomorrow. I hope everybody will tune in, and much love, everybody. Thank you for coming in and hanging out. I appreciate it. I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate engaging, whoever I'm interviewing. Please throw the questions out there. I've been throwing questions out there. Like the earlier one, there was a question from yesterday, or more of a statement. And the statement in one of the panels was, well, nobody is entitled to my money or my taxes. And, that was the conversation I had with them. So it's like, okay, well, if you had somebody like a Republican they're listening to your thing about taxes and like, well, nobody's entitled to my taxes or my money. Like that's one of their key talking points. How would you handle that? Like, that's important for us to know, because they're going to have those questions. And I see those questions a lot. I get it. Me personally, I'm somebody where I don't mind if my tax money goes to feed the kid down the street. I'd rather the kid down the street have a meal, because I don't know what his life's like. But if he's going hungry, that's not okay. I don't know that his mom's working 3 jobs and can barely keep the lights on, because that's a lot of people's lives these days. So it's one of those, the greed, just the personal greed of, I'm so afraid that if somebody else gets something, I'm going to miss out. Trust me, you already have, you have what you need. They don't even have food. You have electricity. They're struggling to buy a blanket to keep warm at night. Like things like that, where it's the little things like that we can do to actually help each other, instead of being so self-centered and self-focused. And don't get me wrong, I am probably the most self-centered and selfish person I know. I am so selfish. I will take enough cupcakes for everybody to make sure they leave me alone while I'm eating mine in the corner. So that way, if they come and go, I have a carrot cupcake, I brought enough for everybody, go away. That's how selfish and greedy I am. I will make sure everybody has some, so the people leave me alone while I'm eating my portion. It's not a pie. But if you're gonna give in to these 7 deadly sins, if you're gonna give in to your greed, make sure you do it the right way. If you're hurting others in the process of it, that's not the right way. It's just like the fact that, there's so many things in this world that if you take a step back and you look at how your choices affect everybody else, not just yourself, you'd be surprised of the ripple effect, the butterfly effect that happens, where I keep saying all it takes is one small voice to start a revolution, because it does. All it takes is one voice in the background with a whole lot of passion for other people to take notice and be like, oh, 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 oh. And then that oh becomes louder as everybody starts to go, oh, and points and be like, that right there. Well, that's what I'm trying to do with these candidates, is I have my voice and I'm trying to give them a platform for them to use theirs. And all I can do is hope that together, us interviewers and the interviewees are actually able to make some sort of change. We're able to get some of these people into office. We're able to start facilitating that snowball rolling down the hill so it becomes an avalanche. Because all it takes is a little bit, just a little bit, before everything just snowballs into change for the right reasons in the right way. But I am going to hop off, guys. Thank you so much again for coming and hanging out. Much love. Jess, I plan on giving you a list of people that I think you should touch base with and get scheduled, so that way you can have conversations with them too. They're awesome. Have a good night, dear. I'll talk to you later. Bye, Joe.